Hi everyone, I'm Udit. Today I'm going to talk about software engineering resumes for Microsoft aspirants. I'm going to cover 5 tips which have been collected from Microsoft engineering recruiters who focus on early career candidates. So if you're a student or about to graduate, or if you've recently graduated, or actually not quite so recently, anything less than 5 years of experience, this video is going to be very relevant for you. If you're a more senior level candidate, slightly less relevant because most of my examples are going to be from early careers, but the guiding principles that I'm going to cover are still going to apply to you as well. The recruiters who've helped us contribute content to this have years of experience themselves, and they've reviewed literally thousands of resumes. And in this video, we're going to try to distill the key insights we picked up when we talked to them, which will hopefully give you an edge when you decide to apply to Microsoft. A quick introduction. I'm from Prepfully. We offer mock interviews and resume reviews from coaches and recruiters on our website, alongside a range of other free interview prep services, such as interview questions, free practice with other candidates, interview guides, some sample recorded interviews, and a host of other things. So the very same recruiters who helped us contribute content for this video also do resume reviews on Prepfully. So if you decide, hey, personalized feedback is something I could benefit from, or you want to know why your resume isn't getting referred, or interview calls, or whatever be it, you can basically get a written or verbal review of your resume from the very same coaches who've contributed content for this video. And you can actually choose if you want feedback from a recruiter or from a software engineer who's gone to Microsoft. Right then, on to the tips part of this video. The first tip I have is around coding skills. The vast majority of candidates are going to list out the languages that they're familiar with, and that's a good thing. You should do that as well. Mention like I know C++, Java, Python, whatever else you know. But the mistake most candidates make is that they stop there. There are actually quite a few additional things that Microsoft looks for, where there's an opportunity here to demonstrate within the whole coding skills section that you actually serve the needs of the recruiter and show that you can do that job if you were to get that interview call and get that job. So specifically, Microsoft looks for the ability to do end-to-end programming. So mention if you've ever managed a project end-to-end or built something from start to finish. That's a great proxy for showing that that's something you can do at Microsoft as well. The other thing Microsoft looks for is collaboration. Like, can you work with others? So if you've ever done peer reviews or code reviews, if you've ever collaborated with other people, then that's an excellent thing to demonstrate in this section as well. Like, worked on a project in Java with 6 other people where we built X solving a user problem Y. The third thing that Microsoft looks for in the context of coding is the ability to be analytical and to break a problem down into its component parts. Because you're going to be diagnosing both a lot of bugs and a lot of circumstances, like, hey, there's a bug, something's broken, or hey, the website is slow for a certain set of users, or a software isn't loading the way it should. So they want to see how you attack those problems, and you need to have very strong analytical skills. So the way you can allude to this in your resume is to talk about, hey, analyzed XYZ in the context of a certain problem a user was having, which led to a 3% improvement in Y metric, or diagnosed slowness that we encountered on a test project that we built for this geography and found that it was an issue with the CDN, and therefore we changed the way we were leveraging our CDN network. It could be anything. These are just examples to demonstrate that you're familiar with the technology in the context of what Microsoft is looking for. The second thing Microsoft cares a lot about is that you be passionate about technology in general, and you're going to be able to say it in an interview, and it's going to sound cliched, but the far more effective way to demonstrate this is through your resume. And you can do this by showing that you think and care about technology and coding and the craft itself beyond just work or beyond just academic projects. So you might be doing side hustles, you might be doing weekend projects, you might be doing non-academic projects, and you might be like competitively coding or participating in programming competitions, you might be contributing to open source. All these are excellent proxies. So if you do any of this stuff, I would absolutely recommend highlighting it in your resume, because it's going to help you stand out from the crowd. And if you don't do it, you might want to think a little bit about why you don't do it, because ultimately you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life, and you're going to have to learn a lot of stuff to stay relevant in this industry. So if you don't actually love this craft and are able to show you love this through going over and beyond, then you might want to question if you should be interviewing here to begin with. And if you don't have examples you can point to, that's fine. Then you just need to index much more heavily on the other sections of your resume, because you are going to have a gap compared to folks who do, say, share the badges they've earned on different platforms or share a link to their GitHub profile and so on. Ultimately, people who've done coding or any kind of technical contribution outside of work are demonstrating that they love the craft and have a passion for the craft, and that's something that's going to stand really well for them in the recruiter's mind. The third tip then is systems design experience. Now, you're largely not going to get interviews for this if you're a student or very early stage, but your recruiter still wants to know that you can think high level to some extent and that you have an interest in doing this as well. Why? Because A, you're going to interact with a lot of senior engineers in your job, so they want to see, will you be able to actually do this job? It does require a little bit of a fundamental understanding, and they don't want to have to spoon feed you everything, and your recruiter is kind of the gatekeeper for that. B, they're going to assume you have some career ambition, and showing that, hey, I'm already thinking about design or architecture and so on are a very good precursor for being successful and ambitious in your career as well. And thirdly and finally, it shows again that you care about the craft and that you care not just about a certain bit of code you've written, but where it belongs in the larger scheme, what the implications might be if you were to scale it horizontally, vertically, for a specific use case, whatever it might be. So if you have an opportunity to demonstrate that, then do so in your resume itself. Don't just wait for this sort of stuff to come up in an interview. I'd say mention it upfront in your resume that, hey, I architected a system for XYZ. It was a project, but it's still relevant. Or I designed a system which achieved this, because it shows that this is relevant stuff for you and that you can grow into that at the job as well. The fourth tip then is past experience and academics. Now, academics are super important if you're a student. Mention your GPA, even if it's bad, you don't have a choice. If you don't mention it, you're going to basically shoot yourself in the foot, because your recruiter will assume that it's worse than it actually might be. So don't do that. If it's not very good, then you need to compensate for it through other parts of your resume, or of course get lucky. How do you improve the odds of compensating for it? Highlight the projects you've done, highlight the impact you might have achieved, and across both work experience as well as academic projects. Don't just talk about the languages you learned or used. Talk about why you solved a problem, how you solved it, and what you achieved with it. So a good example could be, hey, we built a library management system. It was used by 400 people concurrently, and it improved the time, it improved the efficiency of the library by more than 16%. So now this is an arbitrary example I've given. I'd recommend doing something that's much more real life in nature. But effectively, this example shows a bunch of things. It shows that you had a problem in mind when you tried to solve it. It shows that you worked with other people. It shows the degree of impact you achieved. So there's a lot of leading indicators here that tell the recruiter that you can be successful at the job if you were to get it, or at least be successful at the interviews if you were to get that call. So that predisposes them into inviting you for that call. If you got work experience, practical work experience, then also highlight the scale at which you operated things, because that becomes increasingly more important for products like the ones Microsoft makes, because billions of people use those. So they want to make sure that that is something you can scale up into as well. Even if you haven't already done so, that's fine at a more junior level, but you want to give the indicators that you can eventually get there. Finally, this is the fifth and most important tip, and this is something that pretty much every recruiter highlighted up front when we discussed this question with them, and it was all around innovation. So Microsoft cares heavily about can you innovate, and specifically as a subset of that, can you take the initiative when you find something that might be broken, for instance. I would recommend demonstrating this through things that you might actually have innovated or initiated. Give examples of where you proposed something, you initiated something, where you led something, because all these are good proxies for where you came up with something that was creative and useful. This is going to give you a big advantage over everyone else who's going to basically wait for the interview or behavioral interview to answer this question, because your recruiter already gets a strong signal of, hey, you are showing a lot of the skills that you're likely going to face during the interview, so you have a higher chance of getting through, and therefore they're more likely to actually invite you for that interview. Good, that's all from us and from our Microsoft recruiters. If you want to get specific feedback on your resume, like I mentioned earlier, or something more personalized in nature, this was pretty abstract, you can get your resume reviewed by a Microsoft recruiter or a Microsoft software engineer on Prepfully. If you just want to get advice on the interview process, or if you've already prepared and just want practice to get a sense check of am I ready for the real interview, then you can also book an advice session or a mock interview with one of these coaches. They support coding, they support system design, they support behavioral interviews, they support the full range basically, and there are both engineers and engineering managers who can help with this, so you will be in good hands. I've included a link to both services in the description below. I'm also going to link to a lot of other useful resources that are available on our website for free. So our question bank, our interview guides, a bunch of blog posts we've created which are specific to Microsoft and specific to software engineering. Definitely recommend checking those out because they're all these things add up and give you an edge over other candidates in what is a pretty competitive market. If you have specific questions that you want me to answer, please let me know in the comments. And if you found this video useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and good luck with your interviews.
Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please subscribe. Our website is prepfully.com. We've got lots of interview questions there. You can also schedule a mock interview with one of our experts. You can find the link in the description below. All the best from us at Prepfully, and we hope you totally rock your interview.